What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I am coming at you with a ban list prediction for the upcoming list, which will probably be somewhere at the start of May. I mean, yeah, no one really knows when the ban list is going to release, but there's reason with the upcoming format after Cyberstorm Access and upcoming National Season in like June and July that we should be getting a ban list sometime in the next month, I'm gonna say. So it's that time of year again where we're gonna do some time of year. It happens multiple times a year, but it's that time again where I'm gonna go over my ban list predictions and sort of tier. I'm on a tier list, but I'm not really tiering. I'm sort of deciding where Konami is going to put which cards, and it's gonna be sort of a discussion where I sort of predict what Konami is gonna do. Also, there's no way for me to have every card that everyone wants to see how I'm ranking it on the list, so if there's a card I missed, feel free to leave it down below. I'll be sure to read it, and then hopefully, next ban list, if it's still a problem, or maybe it can come back, I'll add it to that ban list prediction as well. Before we hop into it, I do want to let you guys know, Discord link down below, along with all of our other social media links. Also, I'm trying to hit 14,000 subscribers, so if you do enjoy this video content and you like what you see here, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out and what I do here on the channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. Also, it's very sad I have to say this, but I do need to say it. My opinion will be in this video. I always get so many comments about, like, this isn't a prediction, this is just a wish list. I'm gonna try to be as objective as possible, but of course, this is my video where my opinion will also be, sort of dispersed throughout and how I feel about these cards and whether I feel their problems. So, fair warning to everyone, my opinion is in my own video. But yeah, let's hop into it. And I don't really know if I'm going to go perfectly in order, but let's start with some cards I do want banned. Now, the first one that's not really a surprise to anybody, or probably shouldn't be, is going to be Branded Expulsion. I think this card is disgusting, and I think it should be banned because this card is not only on everyone's radar as a really problematic card, but it also makes all branded strategies sort of funnel into Expulsion. Like, when Renbrum got released and all the new support came out in, what was the most recent set? Photon Hypernova? Branded had so many new combo lines that did so many cool things, but it's irrelevant because those never come up because they all funnel into Expulsion, which I feel from like a content design for Konami is like tough, and it makes like the new support still like, I guess, sellable, but it doesn't do what Branded in sort of should be envisioned to do. So I think Expulsion should be hit and banned. I don't think you can go after the Gimmick Puppet, because if you ban the Gimmick Puppet, you still have Orthros, you still have Raw's Disciple, you still have Ito. You'd have to hit like 4 or 5 cards to actually make Expulsion do anything, or to make it to where you don't need to hit Expulsion. So yeah, I say we go ahead and ban this card. Another big one I want to talk about is sort of Kashtira overall. Obviously, Kashtira is one of the biggest threats. In the current format, we see the play rates are just really high, and while it's not super oppressive, it has the option to be with its zone locking potential. So instead of just like going over what I want banned, I'm going to put all the Kashtira cards I have into this unchanged category for now. I believe I have one more. I have more. I have Unicorn, I have Planet. I have these 5 cards, which have all sort of been talked about in sort of like what could possibly get hit in Kashtira. If we followed the OCG, it would look like this. We would limit Fenrir, Unicorn, and Raitsoth. And by doing this, you've hurt the consistency of the deck so much. I mean, you've taken out, 6 copies of cards, and that's a lot of consistency they're losing. And you don't really need to hit these because the deck's not consistent enough to really put out that power. However, you're hitting a lot of cards, and I'm not sure we'll follow the OCG because naturally we usually don't. I think a very easy route is banning Diablosis because it takes the zone lock out altogether. There is no more first turn zone locking. It would have to be a very long grind for them to actually lock you out, sort of cutting that from their options altogether. The most frustrating thing about Kashtira to me is the fact that the deck in any build can go for either zone lock or a Rise Heart Pass, which makes it very hard to decide for, and it's always a guessing game. Banning Diablosis sort of takes that option away from them, which I think is nice. And personally, this is where I think it should go. There's also an option to ban Birth, which I think is also an option, but they can still do what they did, just less consistently. I think banning Birth is an option they can take as well. What I want to happen is a banning of Birth and probably a limit of Unicorn. I think this would hurt the consistency of like a Rise Heart Pass, which is still really strong, while making the deck still playable and not, you know, destroying it after just one format. But also Diablosis needs to be banned alongside it. I don't think a Diablosis ban is enough, really. So I'm going to go for this. Again, it's really hard to predict what Konami's going to do on this because there's so many options. So I'm going to leave all 3 of these in unchanged. And I'm going to do this initially. I feel like if we have another format, like I don't know if they want Kashtira gone for Nationals or not. But we could honestly see even more potentially. Like who knows exactly what they're going to do. But I'm going to put this as sort of what I'm predicting. Another card that is up for banning, in my opinion, is Ibli. So talking about Ibli, I despise this card. I think it's such terrible card design. Not only does it lock you out of special summoning inherently, which is annoying, it stops cards like Evenly Matched, Lightning Storm, Impermanence, you know, cards like these, cards like Nibiru, and like having this option is so gross. And it's not just a Kashtira thing. Sprite are now trending towards this. And I don't know if Ibli was just different when it released, because I wasn't playing in TOS format or before when this card came out. But nowadays, it's not just giving them an Ibli. If you don't run like Lingaribo or Balinks or a card that instantly gets rid of it, there is no way to like get rid of this card, right? So Sprite is gonna, you know, Equimax lock you, or I've even seen people make Scareclaw try hard to put it in defense. They're gonna make it to where Ibli can't run over itself or run into their monsters. Kashtira is going to have everything in defense, and they're going to make Almirage with this, and, you know, tribute off the Almirage to protect one of your cards, and then there's nothing to swing into. It is almost impossible to get rid of your own Ibli, so it usually just wins the game. And against Sprite, it's really annoying, because even if you have an out like a Bystial, they're going to Gigantic first, and then, you know, Bystials are useless. I think this card is disgusting game design. I think it should be gone altogether. I think Konami doesn't have any reason to keep this card in the game, so I think people have complained about it to a point where it could be banned. This one might be sort of wishlisty. I just want this card gone, and I think it deserves to be gone. It's never promoted fun gameplay, that's for sure. It's just terribly flawed design. Now, the last card I want to kind of put in bans, and then the rest might be more discussion-y and less like in the list, but people always want to see the bans, is this guy right here. Now, I'm going to admit I'm not super familiar with this. This is a super heavy samurai card in Cyberstorm Access Super Heavy Samurai. Of course, get, you know, amazing support. Most of you guys know, but for those that don't, there's actually an FTK with the deck as well that comes off of this guy. It's apparently fairly consistent, and by fairly, I mean extremely consistent. It can be protected by a Baron, and the deck itself can play a lot of Go second card. So I remember there was a talk with a Konami representative a few years back. I wasn't in the game for it, and I don't really know where the video is, but I have heard it, and the Konami representative was like, yeah, we check how consistent FTKs are and how many bricks you have to play and how realistic it actually is, whether we ban it or not. This one seems like the deck can go second because it can play 15 hand traps. It seems like it only works off 2 or 3 bricks, and it's consistent. So that seems like an FTK Konami might want to hit. Again, admittedly, I do not know enough about this combo to really solidify my opinion on it. However, if it's true, this card should be banned a little bit early. And we've seen Konami do it before, right? Like they did the Recital Starling. There was a Leerless card that got banned early along with the Tyrant Neptune, I think it was, before it was actually playable. So they have hit FTKs preemptively. I'm pretty sure. Someone can fact check me on that. But yeah, if this card is truly that horrible, it should probably be removed. Like, even without this, the new Super Heavy Samurai stuff is insane. So I think that's going to be it for bans, the biggest thing I wanted to talk about. Things going to 1. In discussion here we have... We can talk about Runic, I think. We look at Runic, and there's 2 cards in contention here. We have Tip and Fountain. I think these are the most talked about. Some people mention Hugin. I don't know if they're really going to hit Hugin. I don't know if they want to just purely destroy Runic on its first iteration. If they wanted to, you could put both of these at 1. I don't think they're going to do it. I think maybe Fountain is going to go to 1. That's what I'm going to predict. And then next list, if Runic is still a problem, they can hit Tip as well. 1 Fountain might seem kind of weird, right? Because it's the issue where why are we putting this card to 1 when decks can play 1? Most decks are on 2. And I think that's true for like Naturia Runic Sprite, most builds are on 2. If it's at 1, yes, they can still do everything they currently do. However, if you Cosmic Cyclone that 1 Fountain, their deck essentially shuts down. And I think that's a huge sort of drawback to the engine if you put this at 1. So I'm going to put Fountain at 1 here. and I think that's very Konami not to just destroy something instantly. Although, you know, when they banned Elf, they really did decide to put the... They didn't even really put the nail in the Sprite coffin, but they went for a route that was much more strict than what the OCG did, in my opinion. So sometimes the TCG surprises me, but I'm going to say Tip stays the same and Fountain goes to 1. As far as Sprite cards, we have Blue, Starter, and Jet. Sprite, a lot of people want Sprite to be hit in some capacity. The deck, even after Elf's ban, is very powerful. It's just a very strong deck. You see Evil Twin Sprite do well, Melfi Sprite do well, you see Runic Evil Twin Sprite do well. There's a bunch of versions of it as, like, just out there. And even Adventure Sprite, I've seen some play as well. Obviously, that did really well at the South American YCS. I don't think they're hitting all of these to 1 like the OCG. I think that's a little ridiculous. And honestly, I think they only need to hit one of them. And I think limiting Blue will finally put the deck down to where... See, the problem is I feel like any more Sprite hits, and the deck isn't even like a really strong strategy anymore. Like, not even... It's going to struggle in Tier 2 potentially. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, keep hitting Sprite, and I don't even think they'll be playable as an engine. Maybe that's what they want. Sprite has been good for a very long time. I'm not going to go absolutely insane like the OCG and do this along with Elf's ban. That just seems really ridiculous. However, I know there's like some Synchro Sprite stuff that could be good post Cyberstorm Access. I think people have been talking about that a little bit, especially with like Apple Dragon. I don't know much about how like that deck works either, but we don't have like Papega Ruler like the OCG had or any of the really crazy Synchro stuff. So I think 1 blue hit makes sense. Although, potentially... It could be Jet, just because they just printed Ulti Blue. So that's an option as well. And then 1 starter I think would be weird because now we have some lists with 1 starter, like you take Joshua Schmidt's Runic Sprite variant. I'm still going to put Blue at 1, although that does feel kind of weird considering we just got Ulti Blue. That'd feel kind of tough, but it wouldn't be unheard of either. So yeah, let's go with 1 Blue. I think that's it for the Sprite hits. There's definitely the talk for Branded Fusion to be limited. This is something I think will have to happen eventually, and Branded is so powerful if other things get checked and it doesn't. Even with, you know, Ash being its Kryptonite, Dimensional Barrier being its Kryptonite, I think Branded Fusion should eventually go to 1. However, I do not think it's this list, so I'm going to put Branded Fusion in Unchanged still. Talking about other decks in the format that we can talk about cards going to 1. Labyrinth. I don't think Labyrinth needs a hit. I don't think its engine will need a hit for a very long time. But talking about a card like Skill Drain. Skill Drain saw its limit in the OCG recently as well, which is something wild because they've had 3 Skill Drain for so long, when it's quite newer for us in comparison. However, I'm hoping they follow. All like cool trap decks like Labyrinth that have an engine that can actually play and keep up with the opponent, that then just resort to just floodgates is really annoying. I think Skill Drain is really dumb, really powerful. And also this would be a check to Dark World as well, because Dark World being able to like get drolled first turn and just set Skill Drain, you're not really siding Cosmic Cyclone against Dark World. It's just not going to work. You need hand traps. So a Skill Drain can just be a blowout. So this hits Dark World, which isn't really a problem, but Skill Drain is a card that I think could definitely see a limit, especially after the OCG just did it. I think we could follow suit on this. This card is kind of gross. Talking about cards that are at 1 and whether they can move up, or cards that could come to 1. Talking about Lunalight Tiger, I think it's going unchanged. Talking about Block Dragon, some people talk about Block Dragon coming to 1. No, let's not. You know, some more things going unchanged. We have Max C, let's just put that here. I have a bunch of cards on this list about like what people talk about. Now, a card like Blaster, I think Blaster will definitely go to 1. I'm hoping. They could wait to time it better with the release of that Fire Duelist pack. Yeah, they could wait to like time it better, release Blaster when the Fire support comes out. But I feel like it's Blaster's time. It just got unlimited, I believe, in the OCG, right? Blaster's been unlimited somewhere. Switching up Master Duel and OCG Banlist, they get confused in my head sometimes. But I think this is actually legal in both, maybe? Yeah, it being at 1 won't do anything. This should probably just be at 1. Glow Up Bulb, I also think can come to 1. This card is fine. It's a good card, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of cards that were really just because of Hauki Fibrax, and we still have some of those here, like Steam the Cloak came back. I think Glow Up Bulb can just as well come back and not be anything ridiculous. And also, it could promote the Earthbox strategies that have been popping up in the OCG as well, having Glow Up Bulb, like some Earthbox Synchro stuff. Don't know if there's potential there or not, but I think Glow Up Bulb can come back. D-Barrier sometimes calls for being banned or limited, and I didn't go over this for banned, so let's go over it for limited. I think D-Barrier staying unchanged. Some people have a real problem with this card, but yeah, I don't think Konami sees it as a problem, so let's just leave that there. We have Colossus. Let's talk about Colossus. And what I'm going to say is no, that card's not coming back. This card is gross. Like, some people really underestimate Colossus, and I feel like he's just so broken. Yeah, we have like more Go Second cards than when Thunder Dragon were around, but it is literally Thunder King that can't be destroyed and is big. Like, that is a problem. And the real threat is the fact that multiples can be made if it's not at 1. And the fact that it's so easy to make. I think Colossus is staying banned. Harp, I think, could come to 1. I think it's a little crazy that we still don't have Harp. What is Harp Horror still doing banned? That can come to 1. I think that Zen Mighty, that's his name. I couldn't think of Carrier's name for a second. This should come to 1. If you put this at 1, though, you should probably ban Hunter. But you might not even have to, but you probably should. I don't have Hunter on this list, but let that caveat be known that Hunter might need to be banned if Wind-Up Carrier Zen Mighty comes back. Also, cards at 1 or need to go to 1. Let's talk about Magnamute. So, I think this card should go to 1. That's kind of wishlisty in that sense. The Bystials haven't been a problem in a while, but we also recently saw the OCG just destroy the Bystials. I mean, obliterate them. They're gone. Like, I think the only one at 3 is Saradir. Even Baldrake's at 1, I'm pretty sure. I'm predicting like at least Magnamute putting to 1. This card is so inherently broken. I mean, the Bystial engine is good and it sees play in some side decks. I think it's too good, and it should go to 1, but I don't know if this is the list for it. Maybe they don't hit Bystials at all, and it could go here. But yeah, the Bystials are gross. They're disgusting. They're such good cards. I mean, you think of a card like DD Crow, which has seen meta play before, and you think of a Bystial that is a 2500 body that does what Crow does, and then searches at end phase into a card that gets a plus again. Yeah, that's whack, to be honest. These cards are whack. I'm going to predict Magnamute to go to 1. It's just not doing anything in the format, right? Does this hit? Maybe they'll put it to 1 because it counters branded and they want to sell the branded cards. Maybe. That could be a thing. Then again, the Bystials also promote the use of Chaos Angel. I'm going to put it unchanged, but I do think this card needs to go to 1. Talking about the Brave engine, there are so many cards on this list. I really wanted to do a thorough ban list discussion where I talk about a lot of things because a lot of people bring up these cards. But it has made the video quite long. Talking about the Brave engine here, I don't think they're hitting the Brave engine this list. There's not really a reason to. While this engine doesn't promote anything, it also hasn't been a problem in the TCG forever. That being said, when they decide to hit the Adventure engine, I would love to see just Griffin banned. I think that's the way to go so that Adventure stuff and other versions with Adventure can still play, and you can use Illegal Knight, a much more fair or like less annoying card to deal with, I should say, maybe not fair. And that's the way I wish they would go. I don't really like hits to these. That being said, I think all of these are fine. They're safe. They're good. Not getting hit this list. Cards that could go to 2. I'm going to say Gazelle to 2 because they love to do that thing where they test cards going up. So that makes sense. But also, I think you put Gazelle to 2 now so that when the Fire Duelist pack gets released or the Salamangreat support or whatever's coming out in it, you can put Gazelle to 3 and create some hype around it. So I think that makes sense. I think Spellbook of Judgment can go to 2. Is this card already at 2? I think this card's still at 1. This card has done nothing. I think you can be fine to put this in the section before you unlimit it. The good old semi-limit list. Very useful for Malicious, exactly. Let's talk about Pot of Prosperity. I think this card is like noteworthy, and I think it will need to be on the list someday. This card is absurdly broken. I just don't see Konami hitting this card. Like, if they did, it's so hard to predict because when they hit Desires, it felt really out of left field, and obviously they're slowly bringing Desires back. But yeah, I feel like this is just going to be a hit that sort of surprises all of us. but at the same time doesn't surprise us because I think we all know Prosperity is a very hittable card. The card's insane. But yeah, I'm going to say it's unchanged. Same with just some other cards like Abyss Dweller. No one's really even calling for this anymore because it's such a format-dependent card, but yeah, that's unchanged. D-Shifter's unchanged. I know this is at 2 in both the OCG and Master Duel. I don't think ours is going to get hit, so I'm going to say that's unchanged. Same with Featherstorm. Now that Fluwandereeze is much less of a threat, you see people talk about this card less. Does it deserve to be banned? Quite possibly. It really sucks for people just trying to play Harpies, but yeah, this card is a problem when it is good. So it probably deserves to be banned, but I don't see it on this list. And lastly, I guess Desires, I'll put in Unlimits. I think this card is fine at 3. I think when Desires got hit was really weird. Maybe it was just their way of hitting Sword Soul, right? But I don't know. It just felt weird. I think it can come to 3. And that is going to be it for my ban list. Let me know what you think down below and how you would reorder things. Did I miss any cards? Was there cards I should have talked about that I didn't? Feel free to leave those down below as well so we can have sort of a discussion down there. I know that normally happens for ban list videos regardless because everyone, you know, loves to talk about what they think's getting banned, or usually it's how bad the list they just watched is, unfortunately, but hopefully this list is pretty good. I mean, I'd be fine with a lot of these. I honestly think they're not gonna do as much as I've put on here, and they might space it out over a couple ban lists, but we are going in a Nationals format where, you know, anything could be up in the air, like, for what they could do. So that's gonna be it for me and this ban list. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.